welcome back to Cincinnati Zoo Tales. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Mark. Thanks to all you listeners for tuning into another episode. Jenna, we're continuing our not so spooky series right now. These animals that have a negative stigma about them. And we're trying to prove to people why they shouldn't be afraid. They shouldn't worry about these animals. We're talking about maybe our biggest, like, quote unquote spooky animal yet. Right now.
It has a spooky name.
It has a spooky name. It's an animal that's been a stigma for years and years, not just currently in time. But we're talking vampire bats today, so I'm really excited to learn all about our bats here at the zoo.
I don't know a ton of them.
Yeah, a little more.
A ton about them.
Yeah, a little more about vampire bats in general. So today, to teach us about vampire bats, we're being joined by one of our night hunters keepers, Amber Leuenberger. Amber, we know you're busy over there, so thanks for taking your time to join us today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I love talking about my bats.
Good. Yes, I think we've asked to have a vampire bat person talk to us before, and I wasn't sure if you got thrown into this or if you are really a fan of them.
No, I love them.
Awesome.
One of the reasons I wanted to come to Night Hunters was for the vampire
Oh,
bats.
perfect.
Great.
So I've never worked with them before, but I've always really loved the kind of outsider, underdog animals. Mm-hmm. So they were someone that I thought would be someone I would really relate to.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about how you got to Cincinnati, because you're not super new, but you're one of the newer keepers around here. So did you start off at another zoo or internships, or how did you become a night hunters keeper?
Yeah, so I am originally from Michigan. I've known since I was a really young kid that I wanted to work with animals. I used to actually come to the SeaWorld that we had in Ohio for a little while.
I always forget there was a SeaWorld.
Yeah. So that was kind of my beginning of going to zoos and aquariums, and so I ended up going to Michigan State for zoology, and I did a few internships down in Florida. I worked in the commissary at Zoo Tampa for a while, and then I moved up to Washington and worked at Point Defiance out there for about 5 years.
All over the place.
Yeah, kind of bounced back and forth across the country. But I really had a pull towards the Midwest and wanting to come back to be closer to my family. And I found Cincinnati is not only the cool zoo that I want to work at, but it's also the perfect distance from my family where I still get little independence, but also can go home on my weekend if I want to and see everyone. But Cincinnati's always been a zoo that I've admired and thought was really cool. And so when I saw the night hunters position come up, it has all the carnivores, it has bats, aardwolf, aardvark, ringtails. I'm actually allergic to cats, but
perfect.
I make it work. We have...
How do you make that work?
I just take an allergy pill every day. It usually is fine. If we have to do any kind of exams or anything, I just... maybe take an extra allergy pill.
wear gloves, wear long sleeves,
exactly,
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so I saw the position open up, and I was like, wow, that looks cool. Plus, nocturnal building, the reverse light cycle, it's different. It's fun to have to adapt our work to work with these animals that are in the dark.
Definitely. What were you working with at Point Defiance?
I was in the Asia section, so all of the tiger, tapir, gibbon, anoa, Asian small-clawed otter, all of those guys.
You have a really wide range of animals you've worked with then.
Yeah, even during my internships, I did an internship with the elephants and rhinos at Zoo Tampa, and then I also did some sea turtle work down at an aquarium down there, so everything.
Yeah, you
a little
have
bit of
it all.
everything.
It runs the gamut. What's been your most interesting species, or maybe a favorite species of yours that you've gotten to work with?
I feel like I find a new one in each position. So sea turtles were one that wow, I didn't know they were that cool. Rhinos, tapir, and then here I would probably say the vampire bats.
Awesome.
They're kind of, at least for me, my favorite to be able to work with.
That's so cool. So speaking of the vampire bats, we obviously have a colony here. Before we talk about our bats, will you just teach us a little bit about vampire bats in general, where they're found, how they feed, just a little bit of their natural history?
Yeah, so vampire bats, there are 3 different species of them. We have the common, the white-winged, and the hairy-legged. So we have all the common. We have common vampire bats here at Cincinnati. They are, believe it or not, the most common. So all 3 species are going to be found in Central America, South America, and then up into Mexico as well. We used to have some species up in North America, but they're long extinct now. So the common ones, I know the most about them since I work with them, but they're going to be feeding primarily on livestock. So in the wild, that would be things like tapir, deer, mostly cattle, because those are pretty readily available with development and everything. And then the other two species feed primarily on birds.
No way, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you ever look up those species of bats feeding on birds and see the pictures, the birds just sit there. Just sit there and let the bat feed on them.
Are they big birds? I would think the birds would feel them the most,
Right?
the most
Yeah,
similar
I
in
would think the
size.
same.
I
Yeah.
can see why a cow or a deer wouldn't necessarily be bothered by a small vampire bat, but I can't imagine a bird not caring.
Yeah, so the pictures I've seen are of chickens. I think they feed on eagles and owls and stuff like that.
Wow.
It's crazy. But they usually will land near their prey. They have a really amazing sense of pretty much everything, but especially sound. They can hear the different breathing patterns of cattle that are sleeping.
Interesting.
They can actually decipher one breathing pattern of an individual versus another so that they can go back to the same cow multiple
do
nights
they
in
want
a
to
row.
do that? They prefer to go back?
We actually talked about it today, actually, and we were wondering if maybe they have preferred blood types or
Oh my
something.
gosh, wow.
We're like, cool research that we could do.
Yeah,
Looking
totally.
into why they might prefer one over the other. If it's just, well, I was successful this night, so that means I'll be successful tonight with this individual animal. But they've done studies with humans, too, where they can actually decipher the human breathing patterns from one individual to another.
Wow.
It's
That
crazy.
is incredible.
So, not to interrupt
No, you're
all
good.
this that you're sharing with us, but, bats are known to use echolocation. You're talking about their hearing, but they're not... Do vampire bats use echolocation for anything?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have a few different frequency sounds. So the echolocation, the higher frequency, those are going to be mostly for navigating and being able to really hone in on where the animal is that they're going to prey upon. And then they have lower frequency sounds that we can actually hear. So you're probably not going to hear them guest side, but when I'm in there with them, I can hear them. And those are more of their social interactions with each other. So if somebody's grumpy with another bat, or if we're, maybe feeling really nice or something like that, those are the lower frequency sounds.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And in the wild, what are their group dynamics kind of like? Like, how big of colonies do they live in? Where do they tend to roost? All that stuff.
Yeah, so they typically live in colonies ranging from 20 individuals to 150. There have been reports of up to 1,000 individuals.
Wow.
We have about 196 here at the zoo. We've had a few hundred at certain points throughout our history. They typically will roost in caves, hollowed out trees, old mines, things like that. And then socially, they are very, very social animals, extremely social. They've been compared to different primate species.
Wow.
So within the colony of hundreds, they'll have smaller groups of mostly females and their offspring, and then separate groups of males.
Okay.
So the males, there's resident and non-resident. The resident ones are the breeders. They can come in and breed with the females. Non-residents are just mostly there for thermal regulation and heat and helping keep the colony warm during the cooler months. And then they also do a really cool behavior called blood sharing. So they are actually used in a lot of animal behavior classes and examples where if a bat, goes out on a hunt, isn't able to get blood that night, they can only survive 2 days without feeding. So they come back to the colony, they actually go up to successful bats and they're like, hello, can you please feed me? And they'll actually beg them. And then the bats will donate blood to them by regurgitating it into their mouths.
This is incredible. I'm
way.
learning so much. I have so many questions, and I don't want to interrupt you in the middle.
No.
I
I could go on for hours,
Okay.
so please interrupt
I
me.
wanted to ask you earlier, in my mind, it seems like vampire bats would have better luck and be more successful because, what would make them not successful? A cow or a deer is so large. How, especially livestock, I'm thinking of, hundreds of them.
Right, in the
and
same
it would be
area.
super simple for them to find. But is that not, I guess that's not, if they're in the wild and there isn't a farm nearby, maybe that's not.
Yeah, so if
The case?
they're isn't readily available, those livestock, that's when the bats will tend towards eating like off of humans and things. So if we're available, then they'll choose us because they don't have the availability of the cattle or anything else.
I didn't even know that was. I didn't know they actually did.
It's very, very rare.
Okay.
It's extremely rare that they will feed off humans. We've actually offered different kinds of blood to the bats in the past as enrichment, one of which I think a long time ago was human blood, and they just kind of turned their little noses up at it.
Okay.
And they
this
said,
stuff's gross.
no thank you, I don't want that, that seems gross. They pretty much will only drink that cattle blood that we offer them.
Okay, so it would just be a rare occurrence if they couldn't find an animal. So are they successful at finding animals most of the time? But if they're not, it's pretty a desperate situation.
Yes.
They would need to come back and beg for it.
Yep.
And then what are their social dynamics that makes one, or like determines who's a resident and who's not? Like you mentioned their purposes, but how do you get to be a resident?
I'm not sure if
Okay.
they just will randomly choose or if they know just like socially you seem like a better mate than you, so you are going to go away, and then the resident will then be the one that actually mates with the females.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what they use to determine that and where they're, how they determine their type of mate and what they want to have for their babies.
So the non-resident ones, do they just stay for like a few days, or they're always there, they just don't get to breed?
Yeah, so they'll still stay. They'll be roosting separate from the females, and even the resident males will typically roost separate. So you'll even see in our exhibit, you have like a chunk of maybe like 10 bats, and then a chunk of maybe like 2 or 3, and then a few more. And so they're all roosting separate from each other, even though they're considered one large colony.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's just who's roosting with each other. I made a joke yesterday that instead of calling each other roommates, they call each other roost mates, but none of my coworkers were about that.
No, I'm fascinated by this concept of like the almost like the clique nature of the vampire bat colony.
Yeah.
That's so fascinating. You mentioned, we talked about them like feeding a little bit. Will you talk a little bit about like what the feeding behavior looks like? Like how painful is that to these cattle that are getting fed upon? How does it work? Like,
So typically the bat will land next to the cattle. They will not fly and land on top of the cattle. They then will walk on all fours. They're the only bats that can do
That has to be rare, right?
Walk on all fours to the cow. Then they'll usually climb up the leg. They actually have a heat sensor in their nose that helps determine the best spot to feed off of. So typically where the vein is going to be closer to the surface of the skin. And then they'll use their teeth as little razor blades to cut away some of the fur. And then they'll actually make a slit in the skin. It's only about 7 millimeters wide, so it's super, super tiny. And then they will use their tongue to kind of lap up the blood out of the vein. So they're not actually sucking blood. That's kind of a misconception. They will actually just lap it out, kind of like a dog laps up water. And then they actually have an anticoagulant in their saliva that helps the blood not clot right away. Fun fact, it's called Draculin.
Dracula.
Yes.
That checks out.
That's where they got the name.
Perfect name.
Yes.
And then they'll feed for probably about 20-30 minutes. They're only taking maybe like 2 tablespoons of blood, and then they'll probably take a few minutes to kind of digest everything, maybe pee some of the blood out, because they will usually feed sometimes about half of their body weight in blood.
Wow.
So they eat quite a bit in one sitting, and then they'll finally fly away. It only takes maybe a minute or 2 for the blood to actually start clotting after they've left.
Okay.
So a lot of the times there will be multiple bats feeding on one cow, and they're so agile, the cow will just stay asleep.
Wow.
Won't even notice that anybody's there.
Yeah, especially you said the incision's like 7 millimeters. It's
Yeah.
like basically a paper cut, right?
Right, exactly. It's so small. It's tiny. I mean, they're so tiny. You don't think of them as being that small, but they're only like 3.5 inches.
How
their
much do they
body
weigh?
length. Usually about like 25 to 30 grams.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Yeah.
tiny.
Yeah.
They're very tiny. Very tiny.
Do they? You mentioned they're really social. Do they like help each other find food? Do they follow each other too?
So mom will teach baby
Okay.
how to find food. So the baby will be with its mom for the first like 5-ish months of its life. We'll drink milk for the first month, and then after that we'll drink some regurgitated blood, and then finally we'll start following mom around for to find out how to hunt and where to go and all of that.
Okay.
That I feel like 5 months is a long time for like maternal care for a bat. What's their lifespan in general?
So in the wild, probably around 9 years. In human care, though, they can live 20 to 30 years.
Wow, that's an
So
incredible difference.
We
Yeah.
actually have a couple bats in our colony that are at least 20 years old here
Wow.
at Cincinnati.
Do you know what their gestation is?
7 months.
That is so long for such a little
Yes.
thing.
7 months.
7 months.
Wow.
It's crazy. I have a theory that it's probably because they only drink blood, and so it just takes longer for like everything to develop in there. But they're the only mammal in the world that can only rely on blood for their
I wonder how
food.
that happened, how that evolved. Like,
There's like 5 or 6 different theories, I think, and then
Really?
all is just kind of, it feels like it just kind of happened. They're like,
Okay.
oh, this seems like a good route to take. Let's just drink blood.
Desperate times call for desperate
Right,
measures. type of thing,
exactly.
yeah.
that is so interesting.
That's crazy. 7 months is wild though. That's almost a hippo.
Yeah,
like
those
that.
are 8 months to make a
That's crazy.
80-pound animal.
Right, and the babies are only like 5 grams when they come out. Wow. That tiny thing. It
So-
takes so long.
For when their mothers are giving birth, are they hanging upside down?
Mm-hmm.
That is wild too.
Yeah.
They have to
So-
defy gravity.
With like most bat species, you're just going to like come in and find a baby bat hanging on a mom.
Aw.
There it
Wow.
is.
And I know there's been a lot of vet procedures with our bats recently, and there probably won't be very many babies, but we've had babies in the past, right? That's how the colony got
Yeah,
pretty
the colony
large.
got like over 300 at one point because they were breeding and breeding and breeding.
Were
so-
you here during any? Did you get to see any babies?
I
or-
was not. It's
Okay.
honestly one of the saddest parts of my job that I
Aw.
don't get to see any babies. I was like, can we just have one more baby and then I will train it to be my ambassador
Yes.
bat,
Oh my gosh,
and
I
I
know.
can show people how cool they are.
Will you tell us a little bit about what we're talking about? What you guys did?
Yeah, so our colony got a little out of hand with how big it was getting compared to the space that we had for them. So we really honed in on trying to make sure that their welfare was as high as we could get it. So one of the things we did was we actually separated out our really big colony of about 300 into 2 separate colonies. We had one colony that lived behind the scenes that was all of our females and all of our castrated males. So we actually fixed our males that we had living with the females so we didn't have any breeding. And then the rest of the bats stayed on habitat where people could come and see them. And then about 2 months ago, we actually shipped some of our intact males out so that they could continue on breeding and have genetics in the population in the United States. But then we could combine all of our bats that we had still into one colony, into one space where they could have that dynamic exhibit. They weren't just behind the scenes and people could see them. So we castrated all the rest of our males we had, combined everyone up, and so now we have about 196.
So, what does the process look like to catching and immobilizing all of these bats? And do they have issues when you put them back together since they are social? Or do they have like hierarchies or anything? I mean, tell us all about the.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
It sounds stressful.
Insane
That's a lot of animals. Did you do
Catching-
it all in one day? The
Yes.
vet team. I mean,
yeah,
that would be a busy
so
day.
we came in really early to catch the few bats that we were sending out. It took us about an hour and a half to catch 70 of them. And then we shipped them out. The rest of the bats were caught up, and the vets were actually able to pretty quickly castrate them all.
Okay.
It's, we will usually net, grab, we always wear bite gloves just because they can be kind of feisty, and then we'll sedate them, do the castration, and put them back. And then the other bats that we had, there was about 130 of them, I believe. could be more like 160 in the back that we had. They took about 2 hours to catch them all. And that was in an area that didn't have a lot of like hidey holes. So it was a very long day having to catch them all.
Was it one person back there catching everything, or did you guys take shifts?
It was mostly me. I was there the whole time, and then I had a few people kind of tap in, tap out to help me. But we were also doing a census on them, so we had to count every single one of them and make sure this one is a male, this one is a female.
How did you even separate them the first time before you did this?
I was not here for that, and that sounds very, very hard.
Yeah, because they're so small. Is it easy to like tell if they're male or female?
If you can catch them and actually have hands on them, you can tell pretty easily. But from a distance, no way. No way you can tell.
Wow, that sounds like a giant undertaking.
Yeah, it was a lot. And then when we put them out on exhibit, it took probably close to a week or two for them to fully kind of settle back down, understand this is their new home. There were some squabbles. I expected to have a few injuries, things like that, so that then they got settled, they figured it out, and they seem to be at an all right state right now. So
that's
I'm
awesome.
very happy.
Do you have like superhuman senses, like to be able to react and catch all these bats as they're flying around?
I have some experience. I used to work with budgies, and so it is similar to have to kind of like catch them out of the air. The bats are actually a little easier because they'll at least kind of like steady or like sit down and like kind of hunker down for you to catch them with the net. It's less having to like catch midair, but yes, but just working in the night hunters, your ears all of a sudden become better. You just live in a cave all day, so you have to like get new senses, get heightened senses. Yes.
In the wild, I don't know how long they would spend hunting, but you mentioned feeding doesn't take long at all. How do they spend the majority of the rest of their day then?
They're mostly going to be grooming, so they groom both themselves, but they also do social grooming, and that helps to kind of form those bonds with their colony mates and their roost mates. And then sleeping is going to be another one. Other than that, they don't do much.
Okay. I was wondering because it seems like they would be tricky to enrich. Do you guys do any enrichment for them?
Yes, I give them enrichment every day. They don't interact with the enrichment that I give them for most of the time. So the big ways that you can enrich them are like changing up their flight path. So a lot of the times I'll move logs around or put out butcher paper so that they have to then like avoid something that maybe wasn't there. Changing up their food can either go really well or really bad. A lot of the times, even if I move a bowl like 3 or 4 inches to the side, then they're like, there's no blood out here.
Oh no!
I'd rather not eat than admit that there is a change in my environment.
Wow.
One of the enrichments that I really love giving to them that they have yet to interact with, but I'm hoping someday, is actually giving them blood in sausage casing so that they have to have that like actual feeling of biting into something and being able to drink from it. So maybe someday they'll maybe try it.
I'll say great things take time.
Yeah. It's been maybe over a year since I've been giving it to them.
Keep
but
trying, you know?
We'll see. We'll have one brave soul that will actually try it out. So we'll see. Sounds, a lot of different like nature sounds. Okay. I actually thought about giving them cow breathing sounds now that I've like figured this out. I'm like, let's see if they react differently to cow breathing versus just a thunder sound or something like that.
That would be
You could put the cow breathing next to the sausage.
Yeah. Then maybe they'll actually use it.
That's a weird sentence.
We were talking about it. I talked about it a little bit last night with my boyfriend, but then also at work of like, what if we test it out? We put breathing noises next to this blood bowl, no breathing noises next to this blood bowl. See which one they prefer.
Yes.
There's so many opportunities.
I want to hear
what
happens if you try this.
Yes, I can do that.
And you mentioned so they only eat blood. So what are our bats eating here? Like, how are you able to feed our colony of 196 bats?
Yes.
Like,
we feed only beef blood here, so we get it locally from a local butcher, Stalin's. So we go and get it once a week. We get a few different gallons. Usually we feed anywhere from like, I'd say 6 to 8 gallons a week to our bats.
So about a gallon a day, roughly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we also get a little bit of blood from a place in Texas as well, just as a backup in case we have any kind of issue sourcing it. So they just get that blood in a bowl. We have little saucers that we give to them so that they can climb up to the bowl instead of having to like heave themselves up on top of something that's really high. And then they'll just eat that throughout the day.
Do you know, are there many zoos that have vampire bats?
I know of 2 or 3 other zoos. Wow, so there aren't too many that have vampire bats. One of the reasons is because it's such a like specific thing that they eat. A lot of the other animals were like, oh, ground meat, we're able to feed that to X, Y, and Z. Blood, here's for the vampire bats.
Yes.
Maybe leeches if you have leeches.
Do you know, are they endangered?
They're not.
They're not. Okay.
So they are considered least concern.
Okay.
They are pretty prevalent out in the wild. Unfortunately, that does mean that they end up with a lot of human conflict because they can, go into farms and feed on all the livestock. They can spread disease as well. So rabies is obviously a big one that I think a lot of people associate bats with. But humans don't really love bats very much, but they especially don't love vampire bats, I think, because they're kind of scary to a lot of people. I know, for me, I hear a lot of people come through and just kind of see like, ooh, they're gross. They're, they're scary, things like that. And trust me, I know they're kind of gross. Like, I actually had one of my bats, unfortunately, pee in my mouth this morning.
Oh my gosh!
So, if anyone can call them gross, it is me.
You've earned it.
Don't worry, I know they're kind of gross, but they're also so cool. And so I want people to also admire them for how different and unique and cool they are.
And intelligent.
Yes, they're so smart. They're so incredibly smart. And I feel like we've just kind of are hitting the small iceberg of the research we could do and learn about not just vampire bats, but bats in general and how cool they really are.
Is there anything that, like any facts or things you could share with us that would help people fall in love with them that we haven't mentioned? Like, do they actually cause any harm? Are they good for reasons we aren't thinking of? How often are they spreading rabies? Like, is it really that often?
I don't think so. I'm not quite sure what the numbers are out in the wild. I mean, our bats in our colony obviously don't have rabies. All of the keepers are vaccinated for rabies that works with them just in case. But even if we see any kind of signs of sickness in our bats, it's a automatic, we're going to the vet, you're getting checked up on for 196 individuals, which is crazy to think about. But they're just so smart and so different. They have little pug faces. They've got little smooshed noses. I think they're just incredibly cute with their little faces. I do have to say the hairy-legged and the white-winged are maybe slightly cuter than the common ones. Don't tell my children I said that. But yeah, they're really cool and different. And they're vampires. They are called vampire bats. They drink only blood. They're the only ones that do that.
So unique and
so
perfect
unique
for this episode, for this season, yes.
And you're right that when you do see a close-up of their face, if you can Google image search, they really are. They have all bats, I think, do have cute little faces.
Incredibly cute.
Yeah, they're precious. I do have a couple vampire bat fact or fiction that we wanted to play with you to see if you could either say that this stuff is true, some stigmas about vampire bats, or maybe you'll say that's a myth. We can debunk it.
Okay.
So I have some things I wanted to run by you. The first thing that I found in my research online is the common thinking that vampire bats actually seek out humans. Humans are a main prey for vampire bats. We talked about this a little bit, but what would you have to say if someone who had that thought?
Absolutely not. The vampire bats are not going to seek out a human when they have readily available cattle, livestock, or birds, if you're the other two species. I work with my bats every single day. I'm in there. They do not want anything to do with me.
Have you ever, all the times you spent with them, have you ever been bitten?
No, absolutely not. They do not bite. Even For the most part, most of them don't even bite when we're handling them. Some of them are maybe a little spicier, but they'll just bite a glove, and then they're like, oh, that's not food, I don't want that. But they are not seeking me out. They will sometimes kind of fly next to us, but that's more out of, we're just kind of flying around, and you just happen to be standing there. But they don't want my blood, trust me. If they did, then I feel like I would feel them all the time.
By now, right?
Yes, exactly.
So another thought we have isn't just to deal with vampire bats, but just bats in general, is that all bats are known as bloodsuckers. You know, around here we have a handful of species just in our tri-state area. You need to be wary and be on alert because any of these bats that we see flying around could swoop in and bite you at any given time.
Yeah, there are only 3 species. There are only 3 species of bats that drink blood. Those are the 3 that I talked about, and they're all found, you know, a lot farther south of the border than Cincinnati. Around here, we're going to have mostly insect-eating bats, so they are actually great pest control. Yeah, if you don't want mosquitoes, if you don't want anything else around you, then bats are the ones that you do want around.
Yeah, they help clean all that stuff up.
Exactly, they get rid of all the bugs that then want to eat your blood.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Last myth I have for you, or fact or fiction I guess I have for you, is that vampire bats are known to drain creatures of their blood. They're actually killers. They will drain all the blood out of an animal and just leave it dead.
Definitely not true. They only will take 2 tablespoons of blood at a time. There may be some times where there's about 30 bats maybe on one cow, but even that's only 60 tablespoons. Hopefully I've done that math correctly really fast. 60 tablespoons in one night, which in the grand scheme of a cow is really not that much. So they are definitely not draining them. I don't know that they could physically drain them unless it was
They're
this
so
huge
little.
colony. Exactly. Like, those 2 tablespoons are like 40 to 60% of their own body weight, and then they still have to like sit there and then be able to like pee out some of the liquid and then take off, or else they're just kind of stuck there not being able to fly.
That's so funny. They eat so much they can't move.
Yeah.
Like us after things.
They're like, oh, I gotta take a break.
I thought that one was kind of counterintuitive because if you think about it, it's like, why would they want to kill their prey, right? Like, they need these animals to be alive to continue to feed off of. They don't want to over-harvest from anything.
Right, exactly. Like, I can't come back, you know, night after night and find my specific cow that I really like to feed off if I drain them in one night. So, yeah, it just wouldn't be beneficial for them.
Do they have any predators?
It's going to be really only owls, snakes, and obviously humans because of the livestock and everything.
That makes sense. Do you know if the vampire bats, if they have an issue, like, obviously a lot of our bat species around here are having issues with, like, white nose disease and all that kind of stuff. Do you know if vampire bats are facing the same threat? I'm
not sure. Really the only disease you hear about with vampire bats is rabies. I don't know if that's because of the, you know, zoonoticness of it, that it can be spread between bats and humans, bats and other animals, but I'm not sure about any other species or any other diseases that they might face.
I don't know if you would know the answer to this. I wonder where are they getting it from? If a bat gets rabies, why are they giving it to each other?
They do.
Is it because they live in colonies that it can spread more? Or why are bats known to carry it more than other animals?
I think some of it has to do with that social grooming, because rabies is mostly spread through saliva, and so they're grooming each other. A bat that has rabies goes and grooms another bat, then they maybe groom themselves, ingest that saliva.
So if one in the colony happens to be unfortunate enough to get it, it spreads through the colony.
Spread,
that makes sense.
And then their saliva's obviously involved with them feeding off of, you know, the cattle, the pigs, whatever they're feeding off of. And then that then gets transferred to the prey item.
That makes sense. But like you said, it's known to be pretty uncommon, even through, not just with vampire bats, but with bats in general. Yeah. Well, is there anything we haven't touched on yet about either vampire bats in general or like our vampire colony here at the zoo that you wanted to share?
I feel like we talked a little bit earlier about kind of what vampire bats can do, like for the environment, for the world, things like that. One of the really cool things about their saliva with the anticoagulant that's in there is scientists have actually been able to create medication for humans using that anticoagulant that actually helps with stroke patients.
Wow.
To be able to help with blood clots in your body and stuff.
It's fascinating what scientists can figure out.
Right? They're like, oh, we'll take this and create this. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Wow, that's incredible.
That is. So vampire bats actually saving lives out here.
Saving lives, yeah.
Yeah. We should respect that.
Right, exactly.
That's amazing. Well, if you got nothing else for us, I do have some bat-themed trivia for you, if you're up for it. Jenna, if you're down too.
Yep.
So first question I have for you is just larger bat related. How many bat species are there across the world?
I feel like I just read this, but I feel like I'm going to put the decimal
the
apostrophe or comma in the wrong spot.
We know 3 of them now.
We know 3.
At
least 3.
At least a minimum of 3.
I want to say like 1,300.
1,300.
I was going to guess like 500, but I'm always off.
You're right on the money. It's right around 1,400 species.
Nice.
You're right on with that one. So about 1,400 worldwide. They're found in every continent except for Antarctica, and then in North America alone, we have right around 50 species. So
it's crazy.
Yeah, lots to see, lots to learn about bats for sure. Yeah. Next question I have for you. So Bracken Cave, which is just outside of San Antonio, is known to have the largest bat colony in the world. It's a colony of Mexican free-tailed bats. How many bats are in this colony?
Ooh.
It's known to be the largest colony in the world. I'll give you a hint. They have more than the 196 vampire bats.
Yes. For some reason, my brain automatically went to 5 million, but I feel like that is maybe a crazy number.
I was going to guess 1 million.
You guys are both low, actually.
Oh my gosh.
The
Jeez.
population estimates estimate that there's around 20 million.
What?
Yeah, bats in this colony, which is nuts. I mean, I've seen like some videos online where like they'll show this colony flying out of the
Huge
cave.
cloud.
It's like it literally looks like a darkness like over the land because there's so many bats just flying out of the cave. It's crazy.
Now, do all of the bats from that species live there and nowhere else, or does it just happen to be like the right circumstances that they like it became that big?
I don't know
and
the
there's smaller
answer to that
colonies,
one.
other places.
I'm not sure. I
So many
imagine they're
questions.
found elsewhere too because it's called Mexican free-tailed bat and this
Right.
cave is outside San Antonio.
Yeah.
So I imagine they're a little more widespread, but I don't know that to be a fact. Yeah.
Wow,
Have to
I
do
wonder
some
how
more
that
research.
happened. 20 million.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Unbelievable. Wow.
That's wild. So another insane bat fact that I learned as I was doing my research. This Mexican free-tailed bat, the same one this colony, is known to be the fastest bat species. How fast have they been recorded?
Gosh. I've seen bats in their like little dips and
When
stuff.
they
but
dive,
usually
yeah.
is that how are we considering their dives?
Their dive. This is one of
Okay.
their dives.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is considered how fast they were when they were diving. Yeah.
20 miles per hour.
Jenny, you have a guess?
60 miles per hour.
You guys are both low. This
my
this
gosh.
shocked me. They've actually been recorded at 100 miles per hour during a dive,
Oh, wow.
That's
which is
super
like
cool.
it's crazy to me to think that their little wings, they seem so fragile.
Right, yeah.
Like they can navigate speeds that high is insane to me.
Crazy.
Like,
That's really cool.
I don't know why. Maybe you could probably correct me, but bat wings just always seem more fragile to me than like bird wings, just
Birds?
because it's like a membrane.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
like their skin and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, no, they're fragile. Like we have a couple in the colony that have like little tears and things like that, and it's something that you really have to keep an eye on because a little tear can turn into big tears, and then they lose their ability to fly
Oh wow.
when they have too big of holes in there.
That makes sense. Do the holes like is it essentially like an ear piercing? As long as it's not like ripped more, will it kind of heal
It'll kind
in
of
the
heal
center of
over.
it?
Yeah,
Okay.
like they're not going to necessarily like fuse back together, like unless you do surgery on them or something. But they'll just kind of heal around the edges and
Fill
just
in a
have
little
that.
bit,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Well, luckily for vampire bats, if it does happen, they feed each other, right?
Right,
one of
exactly.
one of
And
the colonies
they
will take care
are
of them.
amazing at just walking around too. So they're like the only bat species that can take off directly from the ground as opposed to having to get back up on like a perch or something.
Oh, that makes sense. I never would have thought of it, but now that you mention that, I've seen them at night hunters before. Just be like right by the feeder, and then they just take right off into the air, and that is pretty unique for bats. Yeah.
And I've never thought about other bats not ever coming to the ground and being able to take off. But yeah, that's so interesting. I did remember another question. How do you enter their space without worrying about them leaving? Is it like an aviary? Do you have multiple doors and that sort of thing? Do you ever have close calls where they try and fly out?
So we have
so many to keep an eye on.
We have what we call our like vestibule area, and that's double doors. It's actually like technically triple doors from like our hallway area, so we just ensure every door behind us is closed before opening the next door. And then, it's just being really aware of where they are. If they maybe get a little too close, or if they pop right out, you just grab them and put them back. They don't want to be out there as much as we don't want them out there. There's no blood out there for them. So then they're just kind of like look shocked, like, this was a mistake.
Help me.
Help me. Can I get back in there, please?
Are they soft?
Yeah.
They look soft.
They do, I know, they do. I always picture them being like almost like a stuffed animal. Like,
they've got like all that like kind of fuzzy fur on their bodies, and then their wings are just that kind of nice soft skin. Mm-hmm.
Damn, they look cute. We need a vampire bat stuffed animal. That's what I want.
The one at the gift shop, Lincoln says, is a vampire bat.
I mean, it does actually look a lot like a vampire bat. I have seen that one.
It's rather large. But
I need to check it out. I need to get on Lincoln's level. Check out our
we need like a life-size one that's like only a few inches.
Was that your last trivia?
I have a couple more for you. These are more just vampire related because I couldn't resist asking a couple vampire questions. So what year, Jenna, these are your favorite type of questions. What year did Bram Stoker release the book Dracula? The original. This is right up Jenna's alley.
I don't even know when people started writing books.
Right? I don't know. 1862.
1862, okay, Jenna.
Oh, gosh.
You got a guess?
Just Price is Right me. Do
Price
like
is
1863.
1891.
You guys are actually both really close. 1897.
Oh, you were closer.
Wow, that's a shock.
You're real close. 1897. But this was the book that is like widely regarded as kind of like starting the genre, right? Like he was the one that came up with vampires being from Transylvania and Van Helsing hunting them and all this.
Do you know? Is it because of vampire bats? Like, did he have an encounter with them?
I don't know. I'm not sure how that actually got brought into it.
From my understanding, that the like legend of the vampire came before vampire bats. Vampire bats get their name from vampires.
Oh, I didn't realize which gets like chicken or the egg. Like which came first. That's interesting though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh. That is interesting because why would anyone come up with that? Why would,
what made
I would
you
think they'd
of
see
that?
the bat doing that, and then you'd think of this story. But interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. All right, last question here I have for you. You guys have been pretty good so far. See if you can get the toughest question yet. What movie trilogy features sparkly vampires
Twilight!
And a war between vampires and werewolves? Jenna?
You got it.
Twilight.
Yeah, Twilight.
Stellar movies. They're
I'll
the best you'll ever find.
Shout out to my amazing wife who loves the Twilight movies.
Does she really love them?
Yeah. Are you guys Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Team Edward, 100%.
No, I don't think I ever made up my mind.
Couldn't decide.
I loved the books.
Amber, of course you're Team Edward. He's the
vampire.
vampire. He's
Yeah.
the vampire.
Vampire over werewolf any day.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I have a strong feeling.
You're gonna have to rewatch them.
I know.
Come back with a
I
tape.
think I'll read
Come back.
Reading sounds better.
Oh man, well thanks for playing along with trivia for us.
Yeah, of course.
Jenna, do we have anything else for Amber while we got her?
Just our final question. What can I do?
Of course. So, vampire bats, you can come to the zoo and see them and support them that way.
Yes.
Bats in general, though, our local bats need help just as much as anybody else. One of the big things is actually building, or you can even buy them online, bat boxes. So a place that the bats can go into and live in while they are in from the daylight and during the day. You have to have certain parameters with the bat boxes. I believe they have to be usually southeast or southwestern facing. And then you can actually look up online, depending on where you are in the United States, it should be a certain color to help with the temperature control and everything in there. So a little bit darker in some of the kind of northern more states, and then a little bit lighter in the southern more states.
That makes sense. They don't overheat. And the point of these bat boxes is there's a lot of destruction, right? So they probably don't have as many trees to live in or caves to live in. Is that why you would want to put bat boxes
you would
out?
want to give them a place to live, because we are inevitably taking away a lot of their habitats, but also it helps encourage them into your habitat, so into your yard, if you have things like mosquitoes and other pests that maybe you want to have bats come in. They have goats come in and take away all the like overgrown shrubbery and everything. Let's have bats come in, take away some of the overgrown pests.
That's perfect.
Oh, I was gonna ask if you have temperature, like are the caves that our bats live in like pretty like temperature controlled? Do you have to pay attention to that?
Yes.
What temperature do they prefer?
We usually try and keep it between 72 and 82 degrees. They can't thermoregulate very well, so that's why they end up inviting more into the colony when it gets cold. So we really try and make sure that they are not exposed to, very extreme temperatures either way, hot or cold. And then we also watch the humidity in there as well.
It's interesting because in South America or Central America, where you're finding them, it would be really warm, but caves you think of as always like the same temperature,
Steady.
right?
Yeah.
But it would be cooler. But then they can live in trees too. So it's interesting they use each other to like help determine the
Yeah, that's fascinating. I love the bat box idea though. And correct me if I'm wrong too, bat boxes also help, like, part of the thing is people don't want bats in their attics. People don't want bats in their chimneys or whatever. So the boxes actually give bats a place to roost outside of your house potentially, and you still get the benefits of them. You still get them eating the mosquitoes, eating all the bugs around your yard without them actually being inside your house. So it's like a perfect balance. Yeah,
exactly. I don't want a bat in my house, and I love bats. They are kind of stinky sometimes. So
you know better than anyone.
give them a place to live that's not inside your home. If you happen to have bats in your home, please contact the appropriate people so that then they can come and hopefully rehome those bats and nothing bad comes to them. Keep
everyone safe.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, definitely do not approach wild bats.
Great. Well, if you don't have anything else, okay, thank you so much. I still have more questions, I feel like, and I want to go learn more about vampire bats, but I really appreciate it. You're so knowledgeable, and that was a really interesting species to learn about.
Yeah, of course.
Definitely. I know this is one we've wanted to talk about for a while, so thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to come chat with us.
Yeah, thank you guys. I mean, I could honestly talk about bats, especially the vampire bats, for like days. So I'll come back anytime.
Sounds good.
I love it. We're going to take you up on that. To all you listeners out there, thanks for tuning into another episode. And next time you're at the zoo, if you happen to come by and visit, stop by Night Hunters. Go check out our vampire bat colony. They're incredible.
Everyone has a new appreciation for them.
Yes.
Thanks for listening. Have a good one.